This week on the ThreatCast, Google is planning to block Flash by default on most sites for Chrome users. Google's also facing a record $3 billion fine in an antitrust case that was decided 6 or so months ago. And a new survey came out that says a lot of people aren't engaging online, doing financial transactions or going on social media. And we're going to discuss why. Those three topics and more on this week's ThreatCast. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Paul.
So Mark is joining me today. We're going to talk about these three topics. No one else is available today to talk about it, so let's just jump on in. So Google aims to make HTML5 the primary quote-unquote experience in Chrome by the end of this year, except for a whitelist of 10 sites that will run Adobe Flash. And those sites are, the big ones, so YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Amazon, etc. But they only have 1 year to do it. So after that, it sounds like they'll have to have Flash blocked by default, just like everyone else. So under the plan revealed by Google, called appropriately HTML5 by default, the Chrome browser will continue to ship with Adobe's Flash player, but its presence will not be advertised by default. So you can't really, it won't be usable, but it'll still be packaged in, I guess, for like legacy stuff. So you have to you have to say, I want to use Flash. So it's a long time coming. It should have happened a long time ago, right? Apple didn't have Flash on their iPhone for a long time, and it was weird and crazy because Flash runs many applications on the internet, less so now than before, but it's a very vulnerable platform. So
the first thing that comes to my mind is it's very ironic that Steve Jobs said years and years ago, Flash is dead. The next thing will be the big thing.
Yeah.
And Apple always says they have new innovation of everything, and whether that's stagnated or not, that's up for discussion somewhere else. But they really were right in saying Flash will die, and I can't believe it's taken this long. It's one of the most exploited things out there.
It is.
It's mind blowing.
I don't know if he said that because it's so exploited or because it's super resource heavy. I don't know what the reasons were. I don't remember. But I don't really think that opinion really had any effect on this decision, just because it was such a long time ago. But
yeah, I agree.
But it's good that you have the entire platform of iPhone that doesn't have to, it's an easier transition if not everyone's in already. So
yeah, I'm surprised it took Google even this long to do it.
Yeah,
but, which also kind of confuses me because you brought up a couple of the sites like YouTube, which I thought YouTube was already all HTML5. So that I don't fully understand what part isn't. But
maybe the ads.
Yeah, I guess.
Facebook.
I think I don't know if the videos that people post are put up in Flash, but I guess all their ads they're using. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to see it go and bring on the next thing.
Listeners, chances are if you are using the internet, you've probably come across Flash every day. Either it be like a third-party video player like you're on Facebook, or you see an ad pop up. So according to Adobe, I think last year there's like 500 million devices out there, maybe up to 1 billion at some point by the end of the last year or something, that use Flash technology. So mobile devices, standalone devices, your computer, right? And I think like 2 to 3 million developers use Flash to create web content. So that's a lot, and they're going to have to make a transition really fast. I know most people already have done that because HTML5 is that much better, but it's still a pretty big shift. But it's for good. It's for good cause, because there are about 800 reported vulnerabilities for Flash in the past 10 years.
And that's absolutely nuts.
I know, it's a lot.
That is crazy.
But only I say only, but there's 250 reported last year alone. So like, just think about that. There's 800 total, 250 in the last year, and there's like 80 or 90 reported so far this year, and not even halfway through the year. So it's just too big. It's too big, too resource intensive.
But I assume that like the people who are going to be listening to this, have some sort of tech knowledge, right? So chances are they're going to have one of two things. One, a pop-up blocker in the browser, which is going to basically get rid of all those ads anyway, so you're not going to see them. And then the other aspect is they might have gone into Chrome settings themselves and just completely disabled Flash unless you explicitly allow it. So, I mean, I've had it disabled for probably a year, and the only times I really have to use it are like super old legacy type websites, especially maybe some for work. But I mean, everything else, it's don't really use it at all.
Yeah.
It's great not having it, and I mean, especially not seeing the ads. So, I mean, they're all, if they're Flash based, then great. I don't see them anyway, but it's good that they're getting rid of them all.
Yep. So, and this is a good, I guess, putting this in a bullseye, saying end of the year we're gonna stop supporting it, and only a couple people can use it for one more year.
So do you think that's realistic to say? Once June 30 hits, they're gonna basically say if you already have an ad, you're basically grandfathered in for another 6 months. Do you think that timetable is realistic? Or do you think they're going to get pushback from a lot of like the content developers to, maybe push the date back because they don't have enough time to move everything over? Or do you think Google's going to say, too bad, it's too vulnerable, nobody's using it anymore, let's get rid of it?
I think they're just going to cut it off. Like, if you are a developer, this is plenty of time. Like, ads change every day. I know platforms are a lot bigger, and especially ones that need Flash. I know there's a couple security tools out there that use Flash, so that's a kick in the butt. But those are security tools, so they're standalone, right? They're not necessarily in the web. So I think most serious developers and companies will be able to make the shift. Chances are they already have, or have already planned for it. And the people that get left behind are like super small. Maybe even like those crappy flash games, if those still exist on there, with the fake advertising of the provocative women on there. But I don't think it'd be a problem. I think having this date is necessary. I know like a year ago Mozilla for Firefox just completely blocked Flash Player from automatically running in its browser. So it's kind of it's kind of like this has already been happening, but now since Chrome, the largest browser, most popular browser, is going to do it, I think it's good. I think it's going to be a year or two before it's just phased out, and the only other time you're going to see Flash is on like sites you really shouldn't be on, and even then it wouldn't run. So
agreed. But I think it's going to really put a burden on a lot of companies too.
Yeah, because
I mean, if they're running super old hardware and it doesn't support HTML5, they gotta pony up and upgrade all their shit.
Yeah,
which will be nice.
I don't really. I think HTML5 is less resource intensive than
agreed.
Flash. So I don't know if it's gonna be a big problem. It's just gonna be the transition of moving to HTML5, which I'm pretty sure is easier. So I don't think it'd be a big problem, but I'm not the one developing stuff. So if That's you true. Are, tell us if you have had any trouble with it. Make sure you get it done by the end of the year.
Or else.
Yep, or else Steve Jobs will come back and feed you Heppels. All right, so
God.
Google, since we're on the topic of Google, like Google Chrome, Google said they are facing a $3 billion fine in the antitrust case. The antitrust case that was decided last year in Europe that said that Google is abusing its dominance in the search market. They were formally charged in like April 2015 with favoring its own shopping comparison products over its own rivals in Europe. So this fine is kind of similar to how Microsoft was fined back in the day with Internet Explorer. So if you don't know about that, Microsoft gave Windows away, and it came with Internet Explorer, so that's what you got, right? And there wasn't really many other options to go with. So they were dominant, and they were penalized for that. They lost that. So this is kind of a similar situation in that Europe says, hey, Google, you own 90 whatever percent of search engine traffic, yet when someone says, I want to buy something to you, you say, well, hey, here you go. Here's my favorite things. So Europe's not too happy about that. So I'm interested, Mark.
So they're going to have to... Oh, I'm sorry, I totally just cut you off.
No, go for it.
I was going to say, so they're getting hit with that antitrust. So is that only affecting them in Europe?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
So it's so kind of like going back what you were saying. So basically how Microsoft had to shipped Windows with additional browsers or just no browser at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I guess Google's going to have to, but only in Europe?
Yeah. Well, they're not being penalized anywhere else. Europe's a lot more stricter on this nowadays. I don't really see I don't really see the issue as much. So Google was also alleged to do something like this with Android. So Android is the quote-unquote dominant operating system for mobile phones in Europe, unlike the iPhone in America. And they are accused of using Android to say, hey, smaller device creators, let's just say HTC or someone smaller, you have to have our Google products on your phone. You can't remove them. You can put your own stuff on there, but you can't remove our actual applications. And the European Union wasn't too happy about that either. So they just don't like, people being told what to do from the dominant market leader. And I think that's a really gray area.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's weird that even though Apple might not be the dominant,
they're still pretty big
force. Yeah, but I mean, they don't let any other.
But that's
or anybody else to ship anything with their products, right?
Yeah, that is a piece, but it's kind of irrelevant to the European Union.
Okay.
They see it as you were dominant. I guess you could be 51% of the market and you're still the dominant. I know it's not that close in Europe, but it's still not like 90 to 10%. But people aren't forced to use Google as a search engine, right? It's default that they go to Google when they download Chrome, but it's not restricted. That's like saying, I downloaded Internet Explorer and I have to go to Bing, and therefore I'm typing in something and it's giving me Bing specific results. It's like, I don't know. There's way more options here. And
yeah, I agree.
You're not buying a browser. You're downloading this browser. Not even downloading a browser, right? This doesn't even have to do with a browser. This is just saying you're going on Google, and Google is giving you, a semi-biased result based on what they want, which is hazy, right? It can be bad because they're not giving you unbiased opinion, but at the same point, you don't have to use Google. Shouldn't I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has something to. It goes along the lines of. So Amazon, so whenever I look something up in Google, I mean, I always come up with Amazon stuff.
Right.
So I don't really. I guess I'm not familiar with the Google shopping stuff.
Yeah,
per se.
I've used it a few times. It makes sense. It gives you a list of retailers and their prices, and typically you can sort it by lowest price, highest price, but it doesn't give you all retailers. And I'm going to assume that Google gets kickbacks to say, hey, feature me or something.
Because I was going to say, because Google doesn't have its own shop to sell those stuff, but I guess if someone's paying to have their item, over top of somebody else's, then, and they get a kickback from it, then, yeah, I could see where this comes from. Which, I was looking at this, $3 billion is 5% of Google's annual turnover. That is absolutely crazy to think.
It's a lot of money, though. Like, I know that's not... 5% is a lot no matter what. Like, even if it is a crap ton of money, it's still a lot of money.
Yeah. So then they're going to have to spend money in the back end to change this process then.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be $3 billion, but definitely.
No, yeah, I know. But, I mean, maybe that they'll lose business from other online retailers then?
Yeah.
Especially if, people don't want to do business with a company that's currently up for, like, a huge lawsuit like this.
Yeah, I guess they're hoping that like this example will serve as a warning to other companies, kind of like it did to Microsoft back in the day, to behave a little bit better by allowing smaller startup competitors to grow rather than using their own dominant market position to, just kill all the small businesses. And I guess it makes sense, right? Like if you search in the shopping section and you see Sears, Macy's, etc., you're not getting, John's new store as well. But I don't think you would ever get that if you searched on Bing or Yahoo. I don't think you'll ever see that unless you're digging deeper, just because it's so unpopular, right?
Yeah, no, I agree completely with what you're saying. I mean, most of my shopping stuff, I go to Amazon. I don't even go into the search, or even if I do it in the search bar, I don't go to Google Shopping, and the first thing that's going to come up is probably going to be Amazon. So unless they're getting a huge kickback from Amazon, then, that could be an issue, but I highly doubt that's the case.
I think there needs to be more here. I see it right now as a little bit of, hey, play nice, but I think it's also Google has a lot of money, and the European Union wants money. So
yeah.
I can't think of any excuse that the EU would force Google to hand over the money for, like, a legitimate reason, besides, you're not letting small businesses grow. But I think that's like a super big stretch, kind of like what they're accusing them of doing with Android, where it's like, hey, these are like, some of these are critical to the Android operating system, and by making people put them on your phone, it's critical to making Android work. Sure, Google Plus, some apps might not need to be, but you also don't need to use Android. I don't know. Or you can hide it, or you can uninstall it. You can root it and uninstall it, or you can get a different phone. I don't know. I don't want to sound like a fanboy.
I think that's too advanced for a lot of people, because if they're going to go through that hassle, they'll just get an iPhone.
But what's the negative here? Like, especially on Android, what's the negative?
I don't really see a negative for a consumer, but I can see a negative for the companies who are trying to sell things.
Yeah, like, why would I use Samsung?
Yeah,
Samsung
if you go into the Google search and you just type ThreatCast, you're not going to find anything probably. It's going to be pages, like maybe a page or two in. I don't know, I haven't looked at it lately, but
you'll find ThreatFix.com.
You might, yeah.
No, you won't. No
one
ever goes there.
But it's all dependent on traffic and how far up on the pages it shows up too. And unless you're getting a huge... You're obviously not going to get a huge kickback because you're not selling it.
I'm getting kickbacks for ThreatFix.com all the time.
Yeah.
Amazon,
who's sponsoring
Best Buy,
this one?
FetLife. All right. So, do you have any other comments on Google?
No, I'm interested to see how this plays out. Is this the first article that came out about it?
No. They were actually accused, and I think back in April 2015, so a while ago. Now they're being kind of charged now. So
okay.
It's been floating around for a little bit. So if anyone listening has any more information or opinions on it, definitely let us know. So the last
or don't
yeah or don't, you can do that too.
Yeah, that's cool.
We don't have listeners.
No, we don't. All right, ThreatFix.com. So the last topic today.
Let's do it.
A recent survey from the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, it's a mouthful, found that 29% of homes surveyed had not conducted financial transactions online because they were scared. So privacy or security concerns. they didn't feel comfortable putting their credit card online because they're scared that someone's going to get it, either because they read the news and saw a bunch of hacks occurring, which happen all the time, or they just think that it's stored online somewhere and someone's going to take it. Whatever, they're uncomfortable with it for privacy or security concerns. And I think that's silly because people, they write checks all the time, and the check has your name, and it has your address, and it has your checking number, and your routing number, and the amount you're paying. And
I never thought of it that way.
There's a lot of stuff on there, and you're just putting it on a piece of paper, and you're putting it in the mail.
And it has your signature.
Yeah, and your signature, which totally matters nowadays still, for some reason.
Yeah.
I just write.
Even though kids aren't learning cursive anymore. That's the conversation for another time.
It's script, Mark.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Anyway, so my opinion on this, I'm going to just totally derail whatever you were saying.
Yeah.
Is even if you're not doing any banking transactions online, that information's on that company's, hopefully not public-facing items. But, I mean, if somebody wants it, they're going to get it.
Yeah.
And it might not be yours, but they're going to get a huge handful of items and do with it what they want. Either sell it or use it or maybe just throw it away.
Yeah, but that's not going to be my information. It's going to be someone else's.
Yeah, I think yours and everybody else's. But I mean, that's how I look at it. If somebody wants my stuff, they're probably going to already get it, and they'll probably get it accidentally and not realize that, who's involved, like whose stuff they're taking. They're just going to take a whole bunch of stuff or buy a whole bunch of stuff from somewhere and go with it from there. They're not going to sit there, between my device and my internet and do a man-in-the-middle attack and grab, what I'm doing. Figure it out
one's
themselves.
ever stolen a wallet before, right?
I mean, you wouldn't download a car.
I totally would. What are you talking about?
Would you?
Yeah, I would. So I think I might move into the desert. I might move to the desert. I might take all my money out, put it in a pillowcase, put it under my bed.
Okay. Keep going. What else?
Well, what do you want to know?
Well, how are you gonna get all the traces of yourself off the internet?
I don't need to because I live in the desert. There's no internet for me. I don't. If I can't see it, it doesn't exist.
But when you file your taxes, isn't that gonna have to be your address?
Taxes. I don't have a mailing address. There's no taxes.
Yeah, but I mean, the IRS is gonna have the address, and then when the IRS gets hacked again, all your information's gone. Doesn't matter. Somebody's got all of your information, legitimately, and if people want it, and they want to go after that company, they're going to get what they want.
Okay, well, how about this? According to the same study, 26% said, so it's the same amount, or 3% less, whatever, this said that they will not post on social media because of concerns of privacy. So what is, what do you take from that? Because I see that, I think that's weird because you put in what you want for social media, right?
Yeah.
You just being on there isn't going to get you hacked or something. Right?
So there's two aspects to that, I think. One is, I understand your point where you're only putting out there what you want, but then there's the other aspect of other people might be putting things about you as well.
Oh,
so you don't really have control of that.
Well, yeah, that's
right.
That's irrelevant then. You're not doing anything at that point, right?
Yeah, but those are probably the same people that are worried about it.
All right. Well, I'm gonna put on my tinfoil hat really quick and
hit me with it.
I have a confession to make. My name's
Is Mel Gibson after you?
Yeah, my name's not Paul.
Go on.
No, that's it. All right. So, well,
here's the thing. If you're signed up for social media, why even be signed up if you're worried about
they're
having
not,
data out there?
I would assume they're not signed up. 26% of people surveyed aren't signed up just because.
Does it say they're not signed up or they just don't post anything?
It says not posting, but let's just assume that.
I mean, you could still be signed up.
Let's just assume that Aunt May hasn't signed up because they're
Uncle
scared.
Ben.
So I don't know. I just think, that number's obviously going to go down more, although privacy concerns are going up and have been going up. I don't think that this is I think this is more of elderly people falling trap to, manipulative media sources saying, if you post on social media, someone will come to your house and stab you in the face. Which is a legitimate concern, right? That could happen if you're wearing your tinfoil hat, which I am right now. So,
I mean, I've heard of people, or at least articles went out and suggestions. This is kind of back when social media just first started and Facebook kind of kicked off. And they were saying, don't post anything about when you're going on vacation or when you're going to be out of the house, because people closest to you, even they might, not be great people, and then they'll know that's a great attack to, break into the house and start stealing shit.
Yeah, that's a good point. So just a reminder for people that got to this point of the podcast, don't put any personal information online. No vacations, no addresses, no passwords to your door, no locations in your house to your security box, no
just put your social security number because the IRS gave it away.
Yeah.
Already.
I mean, that's already out there. So just make a game of it. So people out there, use your credit cards. Go online and use financial transactions online because, hey, that's probably more secure than what you're doing now if you're not using the internet to use payments. Just don't use your debit card to do that. Just if you do get hacked, if your credit card is part of a breach of a retailer, you can probably get your money back. I don't hear a whole lot of situations where someone gets $1,000 on the credit card from someone in China who shouldn't have done that and they can't get that revoked. But if you're using a debit card, you're mostly out of luck. And if you're using PayPal, just stop doing that.
And just remember that it's most likely not the merchant getting hacked besides Target, but it's most likely the banks that they're going to go after, which your stuff will always be there. So transactions don't matter.
Big banks. We'll get into them another time. All right, Mark, do you have anything else?
I don't have anything else.
But any comments, leave them, because we are not the smartest people on the planet, and we'd like to hear what you have to think. Otherwise, we'll talk to you another time. See you, everyone.
See ya.